Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, we are going to take a deep dive into the energies and the numerology for October 2022. We're also going to look at not only how these energies will affect the collective, we're also going to break it down into each life path number. And for each life path number, we're also going to take a look at how the new moon and the full moon illuminations for the month will potentially affect your energy. And we also have a partial solar eclipse that's occurring on October 25th. So there is a lot going on this month. This, of course, is a general forecast. If you would like a personalized reading and coaching session, you can find my information in the description box below. I would absolutely love to work with you, and that one-on-one will give you a better idea of the energies, the numerology that your soul has signed up for in this lifetime, and how to potentially best work with them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So October is a potentially volatile, there's a lot of volatile energies circulating this month. Of course, just because the energy is there and it carries a certain amount of weight, it's really what we do with the energy that's going to make the difference, right? I always say that it's how we participate, it's how we show up. You can have volatile energy, you can have challenging energy, but if you can move through it, change your perspective, change, again, how you participate with the energy, the outcome will be derived from your actions, not necessarily from the energy, right? So just kind of keep that in mind, because this can be somewhat challenging energies that are really at the focal point for October, to be completely honest. It's a 16/7 universal cycle. So I would say the key word for the month of October is awakening. The influencing energy of this 16 is really what I want to focus on, because that 16 energy can bring about major transformational events that can have the power to completely change the course and the direction of someone's life. So in tarot, the 16 energy is represented by the Tower card. So often when we think of Tower energy, we think of massive destruction, chaos, or crumbling of major parts or points of our lives that need to be then rebuilt, and typically rebuilt in a different way so that they can be more sustainable. So this, of course, can be one aspect of this energy, and there are people who this month will see those energies come in full force to dismantle something that's not working and to basically crumble it down so that it can be rebuilt in a way that is much more beneficial for the long run, right? But this energy can also represent major realizations and aha moments that allow us to sort of come out of the other side of a particularly challenging situation with much more self-awareness and strength, and then armed with that self-awareness or clarity, right, around a situation. And then we can choose to make different decisions around that situation, around relationships, around career, around purpose, whatever, wherever this energy shows up. And again, if everything in your life at this moment through October is pretty good, is moving pretty well, you feel pretty sound and secure, sometimes life will throw curveballs, but for the most part, if things feel like they're pretty solid and you've been doing a lot of work, inner work, outer work, whatever, you may not really feel these energies too intensely, right? You may have gone through this energy previously that helped you to rebuild in the way that you needed to rebuild. And so for you, it may be that someone that you love or someone that you know is really moving through these energies, and you're just called to sort of hold space and to help them through it. So that's really possible as well. So the 16 and the Tower energies are not disempowering energies. I want to make that very, very clear. A lot of times, again, it's kind of like we see Tower energy come in, or we see 16 energy come in, and we're like, oh shit, like, what is the universe going to do to me now? Or what is life going to do to me now, right? Like, there is definitely things in life that we cannot control. But we can control, again, like how we show up, how we change our our perspective around whatever the situation is to make it work for us, even if it looks different than how we feel it should look, or it looks different than how we expect it to look. There is empowerment in that process. There is this sense of gaining your power back when you realize that, yeah, you don't always have control over what's happening to you or other people's actions or whatever, but you absolutely have control and power when it comes to how you show up to the situation, how you choose to participate, the decisions that you choose to make around a situation. You always have that ace in your hand, right? Always. So the Tower energy, the 16 energy are not disempowering energies. They are very much empowering energies that assist us through this sort of divine intervention in making much more aligned and supportive decisions when it comes to the direction of our own lives. Now, again, people can go through these sort of Tower 16 energy moments or periods and still continue to make the same choices. And guess what? They're just going to continue to face very difficult challenges around those experiences until they come to their own realization that maybe I need to do things differently. Maybe I need to participate differently. Maybe I need to call in and surround myself with different types of people, right? A different vibration. And so, again, it always, always, always comes down to how we choose to participate. We are always in the driver's seat. So it isn't always, of course, the most comfortable experience while we're in the middle of it. However, once we are on the other side of it, we're often very grateful for the much needed transformation, the much needed clarity, and the greater understanding around maybe where it was that we were stuck, maybe where we had blind spots, maybe, again, where it is that we kept showing up in a particular way that was influencing the experience in a way that was not working, right? So again, this is an opportunity for much greater understanding. And again, that sort of awakening where it's like once you sort of wake up to this, whatever this is, you can't not know it anymore. You can't not see it, right? So again, as I mentioned at the end of the month, we have a very significant solar eclipse occurring on October 25th. That's in the sign of Scorpio, which of course Scorpio is the epitome of death, transformation, rebirth. It is the epitome of Tower energy. Because it's ruled by Pluto and co-ruled by Mars, right? And so this month, not only do we have the 16 energy, but it coincides very much with the Scorpionic energy that we've got throughout a lot of the month as well, especially the latter portion of October, especially at that eclipse. And I think that eclipse, for a lot of people, where there needs to be some kind of mass transformation, where there needs to be some kind of again, change in direction. I think that eclipse is going to be a pivotal point for a lot of people. Again, when it comes to these energies of the 16-7. And so I think that we'll probably see the 16 energy be most sort of condensed or, most potent around the time of this eclipse. And now also with the eclipse energy, that energy can can start a storyline or continue a storyline, but that we'll see play out for maybe the next 3 to 6 months, right? So it's not like in October or around this eclipse that we're going to necessarily see all of these things happen or this massive awakening occur within our lives or on a global stage. Remember, this is also playing out on a global stage. But this can be the initiation. This can be sort of that lightning strike. And then for the next several months, sort of see how that plays out. And so a lot more clarity will come in and a lot more of this like awakening potential will come through in the next 6 or so months. So just kind of keep that in mind. But it does have the potential to be very life altering where it needs to be. That's the key. It's, again, these energies don't work against us. This is the universe working with our soul to get us to where it is that the soul wants to get to in this lifetime, right? And so when the energies are at play, it comes in where it needs to. And so it's very much, even when it seems challenging, especially when it seems challenging, these are assisting energies because sometimes we need that kick in the butt to change direction, to see things differently, to get out of our own sort of drama and our own storyline to, again, get a much broader perspective. And so it's very beneficial. These energies are very beneficial, even though they can be incredibly uncomfortable. So when it comes to the 16/7 cycle, the sort of unforeseen and sudden events of this period are, again, meant to sort of overthrow existing conditions, including in the material sense. So poor habits are included with this, and belief systems are also going to be included in this. So if we have a certain belief system that has not been working, this energy will assist in shaking it up. We could easily see, again, big shakeups on the global stage now, as well as in our personal lives. That's very, very possible. Again, this can kind of, a lot of times with 16 or Tower energy, there has to be this breaking point. There has to be this chaotic culmination sometimes. And so first you're going to see that before you see everything crumble, and then before you can rebuild. That's sort of what makes it so uncomfortable. And so again, we could easily see this play out on the global stage, and that can look like chaos. That can look like volatility. That can look like things just falling apart. But it needs to, so that we can rebuild in a much more elevated fashion, right? So things that are done at this time or have been done, I would say have been done for strictly selfish reasons that also aim to hurt others, that can absolutely have a boomerang effect and cause great loss for the instigator. So it's sort of like instant karma. I think of like the John Lennon song, Instant Karma. Instant karma's gonna get ya. It's kind of like that. So it's not only like, things that have been in the process of being done for selfish reasons to hurt other people. It's also things that are instigated at this time that are being done for personal gain, and that also have the aftermath of hurting others. Any situation like that, you're going to see over the next several months, there be this like massive boomerang effect where it's like, it comes back to that instigator. There may be it may wreak havoc, in its path, but it's going to come back to the instigator. So there's no sort of getting out of this if your intentions are ill-willed. Whatever it is that you instigate, initiate under this energy has the potentiality to come right back at you, just like instant karma. Whether you believe in karma or not, it's kind of like, so it's going to find its way back to you. So I would be I would check your integrity before taking action this month. And that's not to like scare you. That's just, if what you're doing is out of the kindness of your heart or out of sort of vindictiveness or trying to get ahead and stepping on whoever you can step on or whatever. You know, right? We know when something is good. We know when something is bad. We know if something is good for us and others. We know if something isn't, just from the way that it feels, right? So there's no kind of getting around that. As much as you may want to do something for selfish purposes, I would highly recommend maybe not doing that. It's one thing to do things for a selfish reason if it's not hurting anybody else, right? Including yourself. And I would really say if it's not hurting other people, right? Because you have free will. But yeah, just check the integrity before you take any major risks this month, especially if it has the potential to, if it goes against the goodwill of others, maybe don't do it. Okay. So in matters of the heart, under 16-7 energy, where there has been deception or lies, these areas can come to light now to be dealt with. So if there's been like a separation from a close partner or someone who you feel a close soul connection with, and trouble in relationships typically, right, generally speaking, often stem from some kind of ego, pride, and emotions that haven't been properly dealt with. And so we can have the opportunity to properly do that now. Again, if we choose to. I mean, it will surface and then we can decide how we want to address it. But it's very possible under the 16-7 energy. Remember, this is awakening energy. It's going to bring things to light. And that includes in relationships or matters of the heart. And so again, it's that digging deeper and getting to the truth of the matter. So if there's anywhere where you haven't been completely honest with a partner or somebody who you're close with, chances are that is going to come to light in one way or another. Because as the saying goes, the truth always prevails or comes to the surface, right? And under 16-7 energy, it's really hard to keep those things hidden. So it's very possible that those things will come to the surface. And so it's much better for everyone involved if you are just upfront and honest about whatever it is, get it out in the open, deal with it, and then move from that space, as opposed to it coming to light and then having to try to clean that up, right? Just save your energy, deal with whatever it is that you need to deal with, and work through it in whatever ways. And remember that, you have the choice to handle it however you want to handle it, and so does your partner or the other person. And you have no control over what they choose to do, but you do have an opportunity at this time to, by invitation, before divine intervention comes in, to just bring it to the light, just get it out there, right? And just deal with the aftermath. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. The energy operating under this cycle can feel really, really intense. So try not to overwork. Try not to take big, huge risks in business, financially, or in relationships now, unless it's something that you have been working towards for quite some time or prior to this energy sort of coming in, which I would say we've probably been feeling for at least a month now. Be really careful about engaging in conflicts with others now. Like I said, this can be volatile energy. And so again, things can be brought to the surface now that can really get people's emotions sparked. There can be a lot of reactivity. So just, maneuver those waters, gently, right? And if it's not the right time to try to, talk through whatever it is that you need to talk through or work through, whatever you need to work through, because the other person or you are not in the right headspace, then just pause, take a breath, and wait until the energy feels a little bit less volatile, because there is the potentiality, like I said, for things to really flare up now, and come to light, and you don't know how other people are going to handle that. So I would say be very careful about reactivity, be very careful about engaging in those conflicts with others. This is a month where personal peace over the need to be right will be worth more than its weight in gold. So where you can choose personal peace and harmony this month, that is going to, not avoidance, right? Like, but having the conversation and letting the person know, I'm not in the headspace, or maybe you're not in the headspace. Let's push the pause button. Let's wait and come back to this. We're not going to avoid it. We're not going to dismiss it. We'll come back to it when we're in a better place. That is going to be so much more beneficial than trying to butt heads over whatever this is. This can also be an incredibly ambitious period where we feel like we have more energy and drive than we know what to do with. So take note of those big ideas and focus that energy on planning and getting your ducks in a row now. Do your research, work to assemble your team, or get funding, or come up with your business plan. The insights that can come in under this energy do hold the potential to be very, very successful. You know, there can be a potentiality here for eventual fame, prosperity, and great financial gain, especially if there is integrity behind what it is that you're building towards and you aren't obsessed with ownership. That's a big one. Because again, this is kind of like Pluto energy, even a big dose of like Mars energy, and Plutonian, like Pluto energy can be very obsessive. It can really be obsessed with like ownership and like control and those things, right? It's a power energy. It's very much like a dominating, powerful energy. And so just check your integrity behind whatever it is that you're building at this point or what you're moving towards, and make sure that you aren't obsessed with ownership. And of course that goes with relationships as well. So just keep checking in with yourself. With this big burst of sort of fiery energy, we may feel at this time, like we're just sort of consumed by it. So try to channel that energy into a controlled burn that is going to be sustainable rather than something that's sort of combustible and that burns out really quickly, leaving us feeling depleted. Because that's very, very possible with all this energy. That sort of type of over expenditure could eventually take a toll on our health. And so we need to make sure we slow down and we steady the pace. Because just remember that, there isn't necessarily unlimited kindling. We want to make sure that we have this slow burn so that we can build something sustainable. I would also say, write down any aha moments or deep, profound insights that come in for you this month, because chances are you might not be able to work with those ideas necessarily right at that moment, or the aha moment can feel a little bit overwhelming when it first comes in, like when that lightning bolt first strikes. And so we just want to make sure that we're writing it down, because chances are that these are going to be key areas that we will be working with for the next several months. So we will be revisiting all of this until we get to until we overcome it, until we work through it, until we build whatever it is that we're trying to build. And so whatever comes in this month for you that feels significant is significant. And these are going to be key components to a much greater storyline, right? So pay attention. And you don't have to write it down because it's going to come back. It'll keep revisiting until it's acknowledged and it's worked with. But writing it down can help you to feel like you have some level of control over the situation, right? Like you can start to plan, you can start to figure out how to work best with the energy that works for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at your own personal life path number and take a look at those full moon and new moon illuminations as well. Life path number 2. So for you all, I pulled an animal spirit message and you got bluebird energy. So bluebird energy is sort of like in tarot, the 3 of Swords energy. So there may be something that you have been really moving through that I don't want to go as far as to say has been like a dark night of the soul, but it's probably been something that has brought you maybe some grief. some kind of emotional turmoil that you've had to move through. That's very possible. The bluebird is sort of signifies like this emotional storm, but coming out the other side of that, freedom from strife. So if you've ever seen, I've only ever seen bluebirds, mountain bluebirds in the higher altitudes of Colorado, but if you've ever seen them, they're like this pop of color in what seems like grayness, even if it's not, even if there's the sun is shining and it's beautiful. These birds are such a strong pop of color of blue that it's like just stands out, and it's really hard to miss it. And so it's like this, again, almost like really refreshing. It gets your attention. And so with bluebird coming through, there's just this message of sort of moving beyond some emotional storm. So if there's something that you've really been trying to move through, work through, overcome, I think that bluebird coming in October just signifies that you are going to be coming out the other side of that. It's kind of like seeing a rainbow after the storm. So beautiful energy there. Just see this as, again, freedom from the strife. Okay, so looking at the month ahead for you all. So in October, you all are working with 18-9 energy. And so this is going to be encouraging you to slow down. You're going to feel everything that you have the potential to feel everything that we talked about in the intro. But for you all, there's this encouraging energy to slow things down, to pay attention to your body, to your self-care routines, really take care of yourself, really nurture yourself. There's a lot coming up around the body. So you may face some kind of illness or something like that to slow you down, right? It's like kind of like the age-old saying, it's like if we don't slow ourselves down, the universe will slow us down, right? Like through sickness or something like that. So there's just something here about just taking time to see what your body needs, to listen to what your body is trying to show you, and then honor that. Your dreams could be very active at this time. You could be getting profound messages. You could be dreaming about people who are about to enter your life, or past people where maybe your relationship needs some mending, that sort of thing. That could come up. The imagination could be very active at this time as well. And I would say, of course, honor that. That's like your inner child coming out, wanting to play. And so definitely honor the imagination. However, I would caution just to say, don't lose sight of reality and this human experience, right? Sometimes it's really easy under this energy. I would even equate this almost to like Piscean energy, where it's like the dreamscape is very alluring and the imagination is running wild. And that's just a really fun place to be sometimes. Sometimes it can go sideways, but for the most part, right, like with the active imagination, we could read more into things than are actually there. And so there is just this calling to just try to stay as grounded as possible through this, and don't lose sight of the reality of the situation and the human experience, right? So if your heads are too high up in the clouds, right, with the bluebird, you want to just come back down and ground yourself and just make sure that you're finding your balance between the two. Pay attention to your thoughts at this time. If they're overly negative, that is going to influence how you show up to situations. If they're overly positive, and again, not in touch with the realism, that will also influence how you show up to situations and how those situations affect your experience when they don't meet the expectation, right? So just pay attention to that as well. Be alert to deception when it comes to business and personal affairs at this time. It is possible, again, that you might have your head in the clouds and created this storyline around something, and that has caused you to sort of have the rose-colored glasses on and miss something where somebody is being deceitful or not necessarily being completely upfront and honest with you. And so again, though we want to try to see the good in everybody, we also have to see the reality of the situation, right? Like, people are inherently good, but they don't always make the best decisions when it comes to how their actions and whatever could affect other people. And so just be aware of what's going on around you. Double check any documents that is very much highlighted at this time through October for you. If you have to sign into a long-term contract, make sure that you are not only proofreading it, but you're also having someone with that with expertise to proofread it for you, just to make sure everything is kosher, that everything is in line, and that the other person is not either intentionally or not intentionally being deceitful, right? Just have your butt, like cover your butt at this time, right? Okay, so for you all, for this full moon that's happening in Aries on October 9th, there's sort of a lot of this very similar energy that you're moving through in October. And so there is going to be, again, about doing things for the greater good, stepping into like very humanitarian energy, but also making sure that you have that dose of realism, that you're aware of your surroundings, that you're making sure that your intentions may be good, but the other people that you're dealing with may not have the best of intentions. And so just really stay open to the reality of the situation. And I think that if that is happening, where something deceitful is taking place, or if you're starting to enter into a contract or something like that isn't to your benefit, I think that will come to light around this full moon so that you can make adjustments. So it's going to be important that you're just keyed into that so that you're aware of it. With the eclipse for you all, there is a lot here around, just really like there's this kind of twofold. You're working with 7 energy with this eclipse. And so there's a lot coming in around intuitiveness, like following your intuition, making sure you're following those gut feelings around situations, getting to the truth of the matter, and not only like the facts, but also your truth around things. So 2s can sometimes be very indecisive. This energy is going to force you to be decisive when it comes to your own path. And so this eclipse could bring to light where it is that you've been maybe being overly influenced by other people around certain circumstances, and you need to step into your own power and be very decisive and make quick decisions. And this eclipse energy may force you to do that. And so just make sure that the truth that you are following is your truth and not somebody else's, right? Like what somebody else wants for you. This is going to be really, really important for 2s around this eclipse. So just pay attention to that. And then also, like I said, 2s are very highly sensitive anyway. And then with this eclipse, we've got this play with this 7 energy. So there's a lot coming in here around like psychic energy, intuitiveness, like just being very tuned in emotionally. And so just pay attention to what is yours and what is somebody else's, so that it doesn't sort of overwhelm you. That's going to be important at the time of this eclipse as well. So I hope this was helpful too. Thank you all so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.